here. I think one of the questions that we have over here is that they were asking, do we need a certain number of outlets before we consider franchising?
Okay, I will answer live. Yeah.
Sure.
Now, it is a myth that you need to have a specific number to franchise. I give an example. If you let's say Noel Gifts, okay. I think many Singaporeans know this famous brand Noel Gifts. They do hampers for Chinese New Year, for Mother's Day, Father's Day. They do flowers for Valentine's Day, etc., etc. So for a kind of business like Noel Gifts, do you really even need an outlet, right? And then if you do have an outlet, do you need more than one? No, because Singapore is very small. So the nature of the business is one area that you have to consider. Of course, if you are like Old Chunky and then you only have one outlet and then you want to franchise, it's not so credible. So no, there's no magic number. There are a lot of factors to consider, but to answer this question very in a simplistic manner, no, there's no magic number. But if you also consider the psychology of franchisees, sometimes they will say, oh, yeah, your kind of business, let's say cafe or kindergarten, you only have one outlet and you want to franchise to me. So then I'm your guinea pig. Maybe you don't even know how to manage more than one outlet. So there will be doubts. Okay, so it depends on the nature of the business. Okay, next question.
And on the same note itself, I think this question might be quite similar, kind of quite in the space of it when you talk about industry. So they were asking about, in this whole COVID-19 situation, especially after the whole COVID-19 situation, what are we looking at in terms of industries that we should, kind of look into from both the franchisor as well as franchisee perspective?
Okay, franchising is like any other business in the sense that you will not succeed if there's no demand for it. All right. So to give you an example, if you are a business that takes care of old people, like in America, a famous one is called Home Instead. Home Instead. So that means, instead of staying in home for the aged, you stay at home. So it's called Home Instead. So your franchise is you train a bunch of people and they go to different old people and give them services like taking them to the park or giving them a bath or spending 1 hour helping them do some stretching exercise, for example. Yeah, this kind of business might not work very well in a very poor country or in a country that has a lot of young people and not many old people. Because the poor country will say, wow, 1 hour cost me so much. And with that much, I can actually feed my family for, let's say, 3 months. I can't afford you, So the affordability will kick in, Or maybe it's a very young country, not many old people. And then you say, wow, I bring this franchise to my country, but the pool of people that will use my service is only so few. It doesn't justify, So you must do a need, so-called a need analysis. You really study your market and say, who is catering to this group of customers? How are these customers reacting to that service? Are they happy, not happy? Is it overly expensive? How big is the market? So you actually have to do a business plan. Don't do it flippantly and say, wow, I think people like, or I saw in Netflix that a lot of young people like this drink, so I want to bring it in. Then it doesn't work because a lot of the numbers don't add up. Yeah,
true. But of course, on a follow-up question, from my end itself, I cover a lot in the tech startup space, right? And there's the emergence of e-groceries, emergence of various electronic business that require the e-space to go into it. Can tech companies actually consider franchising as a route as well?
To answer you, from our 31 years experience, I'm not saying no, but from our 31 years experience, most of the companies, I would say even up to 90% of the companies that go into franchising are what we call lifestyle companies. Lifestyle means food, F&B, fashion, education, services like spa, barbershop, cleaning services, and all. Technical companies, so far, those that we have come across, they license their know-how.
Okay.
Okay. Whereas the franchising one, they are a little bit more fastidious, like how you dress, how you greet customers, how you clean your toilet, which in the technical field may not be so important or so applicable. So whilst I will not say no, it cannot be, it's just that it's not popular. Licensing is licensing, and maybe even like joint ventures, this kind of models are more appropriate.
I see. And of course, when you talk about, for the benefit of the audience over here, what's actually the difference between franchising and licensing, as you mentioned earlier?
Very good question. Now, to put it simplistically, franchising has a lot of elements of licensing. Okay, for example, to use McDonald's or use, let's say, Ya-Kun, or use even Jumbo Seafood, our clients, or 12 Cupcakes. In franchising, there's this licensing of the trademark. There's this licensing of the know-how. You can even have the licensing of, let's say, proprietary software. Whereas licensing itself can be just one thing. For example, let's say Excite. Let's say your company, Sam. If you have a particular know-how in helping people do M&A, right? But the person interested in your business will say, look, I don't like to use the word excite because in our culture, being excited is a very sinful thing, let's say. Okay, but I still want to do your business. So I just want to license from you your know-how, but I don't want to call it excite. So that's licensing. Yeah. And another very good example would be the Singapore government. The Singapore government said, okay, you know how to ride motorbike, right? Okay, your license is only motorbike only.
I see.
You want to drive heavy truck? Okay, your license is this class, let's say 5. Class 3 cannot drive. So it's very exclusive. It's very so-called specific to a particular thing.
I understand. And of course, talking about it, just now you talked about the difference between franchising and licensing, right? One of them got to do with service and all. I think there's a question over here. And the question is, how does a franchisor encourage franchisees to maintain high quality of service and potentially innovate new business solution? Is there a system to better reward franchisees that innovate?
Okay. So the thing is, again, this is a matter of management. It's a matter of, thinking through even in your contract. For example, franchisees will say, hey, if I innovate, and then your contract says that all improvements to the system, all innovations will ultimately belong to the franchisor. Then I innovate for what? It benefits you. How come I got no reward? Right? So you in your so-called in your contract or in your ops manual or in your correspondence with your franchisee or even in the way you manage your franchisees, you can on a yearly or quarterly or whatever half yearly so-called period do competition among franchisees and say, okay, Christmas is coming. I would like all of you franchisees to compete for the most innovative, let's say, Christmas burger of the year award. Okay, and if the one that won it will get, say, so many $1,000 and maybe a waiver of royalty for 3 months, something like that. So this is one way to reward them. And of course, people all have ego and they like to be recognized. Then you can give them a trophy and put on your website so that this franchisee is recognized.
Understand.
So all these things, correct. I think understanding human beings and managing them well is very important because you're dealing with all sorts of people. Now, on this point, one of the things we do as an experienced consultant, we even help you profile what kind of people will make the best franchisees for you.
Okay.
I give an example.
Yep.
I'll give you an example. For example, if I'm, let's say, allergic to coffee and tea, but I'm very well connected, I have all the money and I can talk, my EQ is good, etc. But your consultant, you, the franchisor, your consultant didn't help you think through properly. You would have selected me, forgetting that, maybe what is very important is you also don't want franchisees who don't like coffee.
Yep.
Because for me, I'm allergic to coffee. You know what I mean? So we try to eliminate blind spots. So that so that the whoever you recruit as part of your system are as ideal as possible. Yeah.
In fact, that's the best example, right? You can't appreciate the product, and they buy the product. It's probably one of the key consideration for them. They're just looking at it for investment and from operator perspectives. From operator perspective, it's going to be tough. Sorry, I think my audio was a bit off. I'm not sure whether Albert can hear it from here. Okay, maybe moving on the next question. I think that there is also a question over here. They talk about branding in general. They were saying that well-known brands franchise fee will be high. Lesser known brands franchise fee will be lesser. But franchisees will need to know how to create a brand awareness, and brand marketing is costly and takes a lot of time. And for a prospective, franchisee, how can you work it out with the franchisor to get support for brand marketing in the new market?
Okay, in the new market. Okay, so the thing is this. Now, what do you mean when you say that the brand is already famous, right? Yep. So, for example, let's take Starbucks for an example. Way before Starbucks came to Singapore, okay, already in the social media and even people, in Orchard Road, they start talking about this really famous coffee chain called Starbucks. So everybody was talking about it. Then Bonvest, I mentioned it because I used to be GM at Bonvest. They bought the master franchise of Starbucks from America. Okay, so when Bonvest brought Starbucks to Singapore, they didn't really have to do much marketing because there's a buzz already, and also they know that you don't immediately try to cater to the entire island. You start in, Orchard Road, because people who go to Orchard Road already know Starbucks. So you don't have to even sell to them; they are already converted. The tourists, they walk along Orchard Road, the people who shop at Orchard Road, especially Liet Tower. The first outlet was at Liet Tower. Liet Tower has also, and then opposite, there are a lot of fashion stores. Hilton Hotel, all the high fashion, all down there. So people who go there are frequent travelers who know this brand already, right? Then, of course, then later you say, okay, for example, this guy. Well, in the Singapore case, the Bonvest didn't sub-franchise to anybody. All the stores were opened by Bonvest. Okay, but let's say if you have a sub-franchisee who is in another location, and this sub-franchisee, that area, let's say, is more, I want to say, use a Malay word, ulu, more countryside, and so they say, hey, look, the people here don't really know Starbucks. Then what the franchisor or the master franchisee, in this case, Bonvest was the master franchisee, can do is they can give them videos or
All right, I think we are facing a bit of technical issues.
Can, so you don't have the revenue. If a particular TV commercial is very effective in America, and then the franchisee in Singapore wants to use it, the franchisor can send across to the franchisee in Singapore, and the franchisee in Singapore can use the same team, the same storyline, but maybe use local actors, and no need going to crack their head and say how to send this message across. You see? So there are a lot of things that are already so-called done and developed and proven at the headquarters. The franchisee just need to ask, and then take it and then modify it and use.
Understand. Yep. So I guess the other question that is there itself is, they are talking about countries. I think the question was, to be phrasing the question exactly directly, is that which country will you recommend for F&B franchisor if they consider?
I'm losing you. I'm losing you, Sam. Yeah.
Okay. Are you able to hear me now?
Maybe you take off the video and then maybe the sound can come across better.
Whether it's better for you. Yeah. Is it better for you? All right. I think one of the other question that is there effectively is, which country will you recommend for F&B franchisor if they consider venturing overseas?
I'm not hearing you.
Okay.
Sam?
Yep. Just give me a moment.
Sam, I'm not hearing you.
Okay. Can you hear me now? Okay.
I can't hear you. Okay, maybe it will help if you type, because I lose you. I can only hear you say for F&B and then I lose you from there. Can you type on the chat? Which country would you recommend to F&B franchisor if they consider venturing overseas? Okay, very good question. Okay, let me answer. Okay, now, okay. Actually, this is something that we discussed right at the beginning of the project when we help a franchisor, F&B company to package their franchise system. So they say, hey, where should we go? So we go into some big exercise and say, okay, a few questions we will ask you. Number one, okay, so far other than Singaporeans, most of your customers come from which countries? And they say, oh, wow, we get a lot of people from Vietnam. And they say, oh, so Vietnamese like your kind of food lah. Yeah. Okay, so that's one very good indication. Then number two, we say, look, you are new to franchising. The rule of thumb is, just like a young mother, you want to be near to your baby so that you can feed, milk her, wash her. You don't want to have a baby, you give a baby and that baby is thousands of miles away. So meaning, when you are new to franchising, you don't straight away find franchises in very far off countries. If immediately you have someone in Australia or America, by the time you fly there, other than expenses, maybe the problem is already, the problem already killed your franchisee, So there are a few rules of thumbs. So we say, okay, number one, whether you are food or whether you are whatever, your first few franchisees shouldn't be so far away. Number two, you should not be selling to them. They should be the one knocking on your door. And then you very cleverly say, why should I choose you? Let them come up with a business plan to show you that they have done their homework and that they really know what they're talking, that they really know that your brand will work in the country. Okay, so these are very, very key takeaways for a lot of our clients. We say, don't go and imagine that you can go here. Just because your competitor is there doesn't mean that you should be there. Okay, although it can be a good reference, what is more important is, regardless of whether you're F&B or childcare or cleaning or fashion, do your homework. Ask yourself, really, this country will for example, I mean, like we also did Old Street Bak Kut Teh. So, we tell Jason, we say, hey, look, very clear lah, you don't waste your time trying to go to the Middle East, because they don't need pork, right? And then we say, hey, even if their Chinese people interested in your bak kut teh, but they are from San Francisco, I don't think you should go there immediately. You should look at Southeast Asia or maybe Asia. Learn how to manage a few franchisees in Asia first. Then with more experience, then you can entertain the people that are interested in San Francisco. And the market in San Francisco will not be so big because even though there are Chinese there, but how many Chinese? And how many stores you think you can open there? And then by the time they want support, by the time we fly there, plus stopovers here and there, it's almost one full day, it's gone, etc., etc. So there are some guiding principles, okay. I see you have another question. As every country have their different interests, if you suffer loss, would the franchisor help us with the loss? Well, legally, no. Because like I said just now, the franchisee, once he signs on the dotted line, the franchisee takes all the risk, okay? And franchisors, even if they are not honest, their lawyers will tell them not to have any promises made in their legal contract, okay? Although some of them try to verbally, one way or another, convince you or persuade you that you don't worry lah, you should make money on, no such thing, okay? So the franchisee really has to do his homework, and if the franchisor is a good franchisor, the franchisor also will do his homework and say, hey, look, I don't think you should. Thank you for being interested lah, but I think your market not suitable or not yet, and these are the reasons, because I don't want you to lose money. Yeah. Then next question you have type here is, how much does it cost for me to invest in a franchise? Okay, it varies. Rule of thumb, if it is complicated, meaning a lot of the system itself takes a lot of training, or if the so-called initial capital needed is very high because of fixed assets. For example, if you want to run Four Seasons Hotel as a franchisee, then clearly the franchisor will say, okay, wow, your building must have this kind of tiles, must have this kind of facade, must be so high quality before I let you put my logo, Four Seasons Hotel in front, right? So that kind of investment will be very, very high, okay? Also the franchise fee, because it's a lot more complicated. These people, for them to get the expertise, and they have gone through many, many years. Whereas if it's a very simple concept, let's say Old Chang Kee or Ya Kun, then comparatively is a lot cheaper. And also because it's a simple operation, the startup also will be low, because the grill for the toast, those kettles, and those knives for spreading the kaya, those are not very expensive, So the cost you need to come up with a financial model, a good franchisor, and unfortunately there are not a lot of good franchisors, or let me rephrase it, unfortunately there are bad franchisors around. They don't give you a financial template for you to fill up so that all these things you must consider, and then you look at ROI, whether it makes sense or not. Yeah. So that's how I will address your question concerning the investment. Yeah. And then you have this, with the rise of e-commerce, what factors continue to encourage businesses to franchise as opposed to bring their business and sales online? Okay, I am no expert, and some you know me quite well. I'm no expert in e-commerce. I'm a rookie. But what I can tell you is, in principle, the brick and mortar business will not go away. Okay, even, I'm sure you have read this in the papers, even now with the popularity of restaurants going into what we call ghost kitchen. Okay, ghost kitchen, meaning it's just there's no restaurant sitting. Basically, it's just a place where, you know, they cook. Sometimes they share with many different brands. They cook and then they deliver from there. Okay. Having a brick and mortar restaurant to enhance and strengthen the customer experience will still be important. Okay. Meaning if I am, let's say, if I'm Shake Shack, let's say, or I'm Jumbo, if I were to solely sell through e-commerce, okay, and then people have never been into my restaurant before, the experiential factor will be lost. Okay, but people who have been to Jumbo Seafood before, and then later they don't mind ordering from a ghost kitchen, knowing that the recipe and everything is still the same, then yes, it's still workable because people know. Yeah. So what factors continue to encourage businesses to franchise? Like I said, even your business, Sam, you know, let's say M&A, or even someone who is doing accounting, or even someone who is very good in selling, let's say, a particular product through the internet. His reach or his understanding of another country, let's say in Congo or in Ethiopia or in Egypt, may not be so strong. He can actually still franchise his e-commerce business to this African in Congo or in Egypt. Okay, and the franchisee there will use your know-how with some local adaptation, you know, and still do e-commerce, but it's still a franchise or it's a license, you know. And like I said, maybe this franchisee in Africa, in Congo, in Egypt, may come up with improvements to the way, you know, you do fulfillment, or to the way your CRM is being so-called improved upon. So in principle, if you understand that franchising is cloning something that is proven successful with local adaptation, so then it's okay. That means life goes on. That means franchising can continue to be used, you know, because it's about cloning something that's proven successful already.